Receiving headquarters.
Okay, we're moving on to Hiya versus Fantasy, the fifth set. We're finally tied up here. Oz is finally giving us a series here, a competition, which I am thankful for. But now Hiya is up against Fantasy, the VIP from yesterday, definitely the VIP from yesterday, taking a win, which I'm not even sure any other player could have taken from Jaedong, especially on Outsider. So excellently played by Fantasy, and we'll see if he can bring his excellent TVT into this game. They always seem to field Hiya for TVT, Oz does. They always seem to field Hiya, especially in really high-stakes situations, like against Sky High sometimes, almost always. And Sky High has beaten Hiya a couple of times in very high-stakes Pro League games. And I do think that Fantasy does have better TVT than Sky High, even though Sky High's TVT has gotten particularly good these days. Yes, I'm expecting a Fantasy win here just because of Fantasy's been so hot, especially in the finals. He's showing that he can pull out wins when they're absolutely necessary. When the pressure's really on, he can pull out those wins. Even though he looks like a shivering chihuahua before a game, I don't think that really has much effect on his gameplay. I think he brings his A game when it really counts. Here we go. Neo Harmony is the map. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Go Oz! Let's get the colors and positions.
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like Fantasy is purple. That means Hiya is red. That means down here at the 5 o'clock in purple is Fantasy. Over at the 8 o'clock in red is Hiya. You know, I haven't seen Hiya win in a while. He won in, I believe, against a CJ Entis player. I forget who he played there, but yeah, it's not often that I see Hiya win these days, which is kind of bizarre, since he has been pretty much the second ace for Oz. At least, I don't know if I can call him that now. Jaedong is definitely not showing great play in this Pro League, but maybe they can get Jaedong to an ace, maybe a super ace, and Jaedong can redeem himself here.
Look at this matchup. Fantasy favored right off the bat. Highest TVT is his worst matchup by far. It's under 40%. And it's kind of weird that he's been forced to play a lot of high-stakes TVT throughout his career. Occasionally, though, coming in big. Way back when, I mean, a long time ago. Occasionally, I believe he's come in big, though. So he, if I remember correctly, was the player that beat Firebat Hero way back when, in a final where WACAF won. I think it was a final round of one of the rounds way back when they used the old Pro League format. He beat Firebat Hero, forcing him to cry like a little baby, and that's what's going to happen. Let's see here. Hiya going to go for his Refinery very early. Refinery before Rax, so he's going to try to get that tech out there very, very, very quickly. And we're going to see what he's going to go for here. On the opposite side, we're going to have Rax before Refinery come down from Fantasy. And we're going to see whether Fantasy goes for his epic Vulture, harass and Vulture micromanagement. If he manages to get Vulture inside of Hiya's base and just constantly stream Vultures all over the place, it's going to be his win, because I think even if this comes down to like a mass Vulture struggle in the beginning, I think Fantasy's Vulture micromanagement will give him the game at that point. But I'm not going to count out Hiya right away. He has shown he can. He's one of those players that can pull a surprise upset every once in a while against the player of Fantasy's caliber. So I'm not going to completely count him out, even though I think Fantasy's definitely the favorite here.
Yep, I do think Fantasy's... Oh, Savior's in the audience. Hello, Savior. There's CJ Entis Much wearing a girl's shirt. Come on, Much. But anyways, there's the entire CJ Entis team sitting there saying, you know what, we should be there right now. But the factory coming up for both players here. I'm not sure if that early gas is going to do much for Hiya besides give him earlier tanks. Yeah, he's mining with all of his SCVs, so he's not going for Vulture to start out with. He's probably going to put down another factory soon. This could be a 2-fac build from Hiya, actually, but it's being scouted by Fantasy, so if this is a 2-fac build, Yeah, you see the gas production being cut from Hiya there, so he might have adapted his strategy a little bit here. Maybe just getting enough gas to go for a very quick tank. Get those tanks out there, because tanks against vultures, tanks can rip into vultures if you micro them well enough, and Hiya can pretty much safely assume that Fantasy will be going for vultures in this game. Probably a vulture drop strategy. This map is very good for drop strategies. There's a lot of space around the mains, a lot of space around the natural expansions as well. 2 starports coming up for Hiya. This was his strategy. This is why he put down the early gas, just to get enough to put down those starports, and a Fantasy Scout is probably not going to get back in here, so Fantasy is probably not going to know about this build from Hiya coming in, the double starport build that Fantasy has actually used recently. He used it against Kanata in the OSL and took out Kanata that way. So maybe Fantasy's
Natural
medicine will be
expansion.
used against him here. And natural expansion coming up for Fantasy here. This is not looking good for Fantasy. He's going to be very, very hard-pressed to fight this off, especially since he's going for his machine shop here. He's going to have tanks on the ground, and he's not going for his engineering bay at all, so the wraiths are going to get a lot of damage done. So I think this is definitely, 2 starports pumping wraiths, and Fantasy's going to lose a lot of SCVs in this attack, I think, unless he goes for an armory right here. What is Fantasy going for? Another factory. Oh, this is looking bad for Fantasy already. I mean, I hope he is putting down his armory as well, so he might be able to get out Goliath in time to deal with this. If he has superstar sense here, he can sense these raids coming in, but the raids are going to get some kills before this is all said and done.
Yeah, this is kind of exactly what Hiya needs to go for here. He needs to go for a funky strategy. He prevented that scout from spotting those 2 starports. Now the first race are going to be out, going to be able to get definitely a ton of damage done. A couple of Marines are not going to be able to stop them from doing much at all. There is the army. The army most likely is going to come up before the race are going to be able to take the SCV out. So there are going to be Goliaths coming into play. Armory just to be put down. We're going to see will they actually prevent the armory. Whether they delay the armory. The armory. Oh, kill the SCV of the armory is going to be built, delayed by a second. Now the Wraiths are going to have to go and do as much damage as they can. The Marines are going to come in to help defend. They are going to be able to micro against these Marines. Marines are going to go down, but now it's all about doing as much damage as you can, as quickly as you can. He's actually also pushing out. He actually floated his barracks just outside the natural expansion of Fantasy, so he's actually going to use those Wraiths inside of his main while also building a force, putting it on a bunker just outside the natural, not ranging it, but still doing a lot of damage. Actually, now the machine shop is spinning at this point, so he's going to get Siege, is just going to close in, going to attack those tanks on the ground. There are Goliaths in play.